Hello everyone, welcome back to the session 7 on solid state. Last class I had explained you all about the defects in solids. We had covered one type of defect, that is stoichiometric defect. It is further divided into 4 types. We learned 2 in non-ionic solids called as vacancy defect and interstitial defect, and 2 in ionic solids called as Schottky defect and Frenkel defect. Today we shall learn about the other 2 types of defects, that is impurity defect and non-stoichiometric defect. So the first one is impurity defect. Impurity means there is some foreign atom, and that is the reason for the defect. Okay. So if I take for example sodium chloride, what am I taking example? Sodium chloride. Okay. In sodium chloride, strontium ions are present as impurity. Instead of sodium ions, there are strontium ions which is present. But sodium has 1 plus 1 charge and strontium has plus 2 charge. So for every strontium ion, okay, for every strontium ion, 2 sodium ions have to be removed, which also creates a vacancy. Correct? For every strontium ion, we have to remove 2 sodium ions. If we don't do that, there will be disturbance in the electrical neutrality. You can understand this. 2 sodium ions are removed. In one place of sodium, strontium is there and one vacancy is created. So that is about the impurity defect. Okay. Next one is non-stoichiometric defects. Non-stoichiometric defects means these are the defects which is going to disturb the stoichiometry of the compound. What do you mean by stoichiometry? Stoichiometry means the ratio or the composition of the molecule, the ratio in which the atoms are present in a molecule, that we call it as stoichiometry. So that stoichiometry will be disturbed, then see it will be disturbed, then we call them as non-stoichiometric defects. It is further classified into 2 more types. So the first one is metal excess defect. Metal excess defect is further classified into 2 types. So metal excess defect means what? Metal ions are in excess. Okay. So how does the metal ion become excess? It may be due to an ionic vacancy, or it may be due to extra cation. So how did metal become excess? It is either metal excess is caused due to anionic vacancy, the anions are missing, due to that the metal became excess, or the metal became excess because of extra metal ions which is present or extra cations which is present. So that is the first type. Second type is metal deficiency defect. That means the metal ions are in lesser in number, then we call them as metal deficiency defect. So we learn further about metal excess defect. So the first one is due to anionic vacancy. Metal excess defect due to anionic vacancy. Here I will take an example of sodium chloride crystal. Okay, we are taking that example of sodium chloride crystal again. So here you can see in this diagram, the green ones are chloride ions and the pink ones what is shown is sodium ion. So here it is sodium ion, Na plus. Okay, you can see it is present, alternately it is present. Now what I will do is, I will take this sodium chloride and start heating in the vapor which contains sodium atoms. Okay, I will heat the sodium chloride crystal in the vapor of sodium. So when I am heating this, 1 or 2 atoms can come and get deposited on the surface of the crystal. Okay, sodium atom will come and get deposited on the surface of the crystal. So when sodium atom gets deposited, the chloride ions which is there in the solid slowly can diffuse. Okay, it will diffuse to go close to the sodium atom. So what is there? Sodium atom is present and chloride ion which is there inside the solid, any one of the chloride, neighboring chloride ion can diffuse to the surface. Now this chloride ion wants to form sodium chloride with sodium atom. So when it forms sodium chloride, now sodium is in the form of a metal, it is not Na plus. In sodium chloride, how is sodium present? It is present as Na plus, correct, no? So sodium will lose an electron to become Na plus, and this with Cl minus it will form sodium chloride, liberating one electron. One extra electron will be liberated by our sodium atom. Sodium atom will get converted to sodium ion to liberate one electron. That electron will diffuse back into the vacancy which was created, or it will come back to the place from where the chloride ion had diffused, and it will occupy the anionic vacancy. So anionic vacancies are occupied by the extra unpaired electron, and such centers are called as F centers. It is called as F centers. Anionic vacancies are occupied by the unpaired electron in metal deficiency defect due to anionic vacancy. Such centers are called as F centers. I hope you have understood. Now what is F mean? It's a German word Farbenzenter, which means color. Okay, it's a German word Farbenzenter, which means color. That means the presence of this extra electron, okay, the presence of this unpaired electron in the place of a anion will give color to the crystal. What happens is this electron can absorb the radiations from the visible region, can get excited, because of which it will impart color to the crystal. Okay, for sodium chloride, if there is excess of sodium ions or the chloride ions are less in number, either of way I can tell. If the chloride ions are less in number or there is excess of sodium ions, then it will become yellowish color. Similarly, potassium chloride can turn lilac color. Lithium chloride can turn pink color because of excess of lithium or excess of the metal ion in the respective solids. Okay, so that is about the metal deficiency defect due to anionic vacancy. To understand even better, here you can see the anion will diffuse out, and instead of that, what is occupying? Electron is occupying its space, and that center is called as F center. Okay, it is called as F center. So the next one is metal excess defect due to extra cation in interstitial site. Due to what? Extra cation in the interstitial site. For this, I will take an example of zinc oxide. What is it? Zinc oxide. Zinc oxide is white color. When we start heating it up, it will turn to yellow color, as you can see here. Okay, if I start heating zinc oxide, it will turn yellowish color. Now why does this happen? That is because of extra zinc ions which comes into its interstitial sites. So what happens when I heat zinc oxide is, see, zinc oxide, I am heating it up, Zn plus 2 ions will be there. This oxide, O2 minus what is there, it will get liberated as oxygen gas, and the 2 electrons of oxide will stay back. So this oxygen, when I start heating, the oxygen will get liberated from zinc oxide. The zinc ions, okay, and the electrons will remain back, and that becomes excess in number. More excess of zinc ions are there, then the color will change to yellow. So we always write the formula as Zn 1 plus XO. Okay, 1 plus X, that X is the number of extra zinc ions which is there in the interstitial site. Okay, so these zinc ions will go to the interstitial site, and the electrons, these electrons also will go into the interstitial site. See here, plus 2 electrons are there. So electrical neutrality is maintained, but there are extra zinc ions in the interstitial site. So this is the defect due to what? Extra cations which is there in the interstitial site. To understand better, you can see here there is an extra metal ion in one interstitial site, then same amount or same charge electrons are also there on in the interstitial site. Is it clear? I hope you have understood about metal excess defect due to what? Anionic vacancy and due to extra cations in the interstitial site. One more is left, that is metal deficiency defect. Here what is less? Deficient. The metal ions are deficient. The metal ions are the ones which are forming cations. Okay. Now, how does this arise? Why the metal ions become deficient? For example, we will take iron oxide, FeO. Okay, here I told it is also a non-stoichiometric defect. That means the ratio is changing. So FeO, actually ferrous ion Fe plus 2 and O2 minus should be in 1:1 ratio, but it is there in this ratio. You can see we write it as Fe 0.95O, or it can range from 0.93 to 0.96 also. Okay, we have taken 0.95O. That means Fe plus 2 ions are less in number compared to O2 minus ions. Fe plus 2 ions are less in number compared to O2 minus ion. How does this deficiency occur? What happens is, see, in my FeO, okay, if I remove 3 Fe plus 2 ions, if I remove 3 Fe plus 2 ions, it will be replaced with Fe plus 3 ions. Ferrous ions will be replaced with ferric ions, but only 2 will come. Why? See the charge. Here plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, how much charge? Plus 6. Plus 3 and plus 3, charge is plus 6. Electrical neutrality should be maintained. Okay. So, if I remove 3 Fe plus 2 ions, 2 Fe plus 3 ions can be replacing them. Okay. Or I can tell the metal ion with lower valency is replaced by metal ions with higher valency. Metal ions with lower valency is replaced with appropriate number of metal ions with higher valency. In this diagram also you can see green color ones, you can see that is O2 minus, and the pink one is Fe plus 2. Here it should have been Fe plus 2. You can see 1, 2, 3. They are removed, and 2 places you can see Fe plus 3. This is Fe plus 3 is replaced and 1 remains vacant, but electrical neutrality is maintained. So in this what happened? Fe plus 2 ions reduced, isn't it? So we call this defect as metal deficiency defect. What is it? Metal deficiency defect. I hope you have understood the defects. Point defects are broadly classified into 3 types: stoichiometric, non-stoichiometric and impurity defect. Stoichiometric defect we finished in the last class. Non-stoichiometric defect 2 types: metal deficiency defect and metal excess defect, and the last one is impurity defect. Okay, that is about the defects in solids. Next we are going to learn about the electrical property. See, based on the conductivities, okay, or the conducting property, electrical conducting property, solids can be broadly divided into three types. Which are those? Conductors, insulators, semiconductors. What are conductors? The solids which can conduct electricity. We call them as conductors. What is their conductivity? It ranges from 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 7 per ohm per meter. Example I can give metals. Okay. Insulators. These are solids with very low conductivity, or they do not conduct electricity at all. The conductivity ranges from 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power minus 10 per ohm per meter. The last one is semiconductors. They have a conductivity intermediate of both conductors and insulators, that is ranging from 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power 4 per ohm per meter. Okay. So here, to understand the electrical property better or the conducting nature better, we will learn based on band theory, we learn how a solid can conduct electricity. So coming to band theory, now in solids I told you all the atoms are placed, or the constituent particles are placed very close to one another. So when they are placed very close to one another, see, they are very close to one another, correct? So when they are closely placed like that, okay, very close to one another, there is a small disturbance in the energy level of the outermost electrons which is present. In the valence electrons, what is there? There is a small change in their energy. Okay. Now, when they are closely placed like this, we can give three types of energy bands, or these energy levels what is there, or the shells what is there, they can be grouped into, okay, different types of bands, that is very close, similar type of energy levels can be put together to form a band. Okay. So there can be, basically you will know three types of bands which is possible: valence band, conduction band and forbidden band. Now to make it very easy for you all, valence band will contain the valence electrons. Now for example, sodium if I take, okay, sodium, what is it? Electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s1. Atomic number is 11. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So in the third shell there is valence electron. So this shell will include in the valence band. Okay, they will include in the valence band. This is undisturbed, we are not going to touch this. Okay, only the valence electrons where it is present, they will be included in the valence band. You can see here, this is the valence band. The valence band is either partially filled or completely filled. Okay, it will never be empty. After this, whatever shells is present, okay, the fourth shell, fifth shell, they are completely empty, isn't it? So such empty shells or energy levels what is there, they are grouped together to form a conduction band. Okay, the conduction band is empty, the valence band contains the valence electrons. If there is a gap in between them, then we call them as forbidden band or forbidden gap. Okay. If there is a gap in between the conduction band and the valence band, then we call them as forbidden band or forbidden gap. So how these three bands are placed in our conductors, insulators and semiconductors, we will see. In metals or in conductors, you can see the valence band which contains electrons, okay, the valence band which contains electrons is very close to the conduction band. There is no forbidden zone at all. There is no forbidden zone or there is no forbidden gap. They are just next to one another. So small amount of energy if you give, okay, or voltage if you apply, they will move from valence band to conduction band. That's why the electrical conductivity is really good for metals. Or sometimes even the bands are overlapping on one another. The conduction band and the valence band are overlapping on one another. So that is why they are very good conductors. Okay. Next, in insulators you can see the conduction band and the valence band, they are far apart. In between what is there? Forbidden zone or large energy gap or forbidden gap is present. Even if you give energy to them, if you increase energy, the electrons which is there here cannot jump and go into the conduction band. That's why they do not conduct electricity. Whereas in semiconductors, if you see, there is a gap. There is a small energy gap or a small narrow forbidden zone is present, or a narrow forbidden gap is present. But as if at room temperature, normal room temperature, it can easily jump, the electrons can jump from valence band to the conduction band. But if I increase the temperature, what is it? If I increase the temperature, if I give small amount of energy to these electrons, what will happen? They can easily jump from the valence band to conduction band, and hence it will conduct electricity. So that is about the semiconductors. Example we can give the common ones, silicon and germanium. I hope you have understood about the band theory. Next, we learn about only semiconductors. We are not going to learn in detail about conductors and insulators. More about the electrical properties, about certain solids you will be learning in physics. Okay. So now we will go into semiconductors. What are semiconductors? In semiconductors, I already explained this to you all. The gap between the valence band and the conduction band is small. So the electron can jump to the conduction band very easily. Now, electrical conductivity of semiconductors increases with the increase in temperature. I told you, when the temperature increase, the electrons will get energy and they will jump from the valence band to conduction band easily. Okay, that's why the conductivity will increase with the increase in temperature. Examples, silicon and germanium. Now, if I take pure silicon and germanium, they have very low conductivity, and the pure silicon and germanium, they are called as intrinsic semiconductors. What is it called as? Intrinsic semiconductors. Now, to increase the conductivity of the intrinsic semiconductors, we can add impurity into them. Okay. You are taking intrinsic semiconductor, you are taking silicon, pure silicon. If I add impurity into them, okay, appropriate suitable amount of impurity when it is added to a intrinsic semiconductor, it gets converted into a extrinsic semiconductor. Okay, and the process of adding this impurity is called as doping. What is it? It is called as doping. What is doping? We shall revise again. Doping, process of adding an appropriate amount of suitable impurity to increase what? Conductivity of a semiconductor. Then we call them as doping. The impurity added is also called as dopant. Okay. Now the doping is done with either electron rich impurity or electron deficient impurity. Okay. So this I will explain further. Semiconductors actually are of two types, that is intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic is the pure silicon or germanium which does not contain any impurity. For intrinsic, if I do doping, then I will get extrinsic semiconductor. Extrinsic semiconductor are of two types, N type and P type. In your syllabus directly they have given semiconductors are of, extrinsic semiconductors are of two type, N type and P type. Now the impurity what I add, based on that I can tell whether it is N type of semiconductor or P type of semiconductor. For N type of semiconductor, okay, now for example I take silicon. Okay, silicon has 4 valence electrons. See, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 valence electrons is there. So there is one more silicon here. This will form bond with the neighboring silicon atoms like this. Correct? Now this, if I add electron rich impurity, now for example I can add arsenic or phosphorus which is having 5 valence electrons. So what will happen, out of the 5, 4 will be used for bonding and 1 extra electron will be there which will increase the conductivity. Such type we call it as N type of semiconductor. If I add electron deficient impurity like boron, it has got 3 valence electrons. So when I add 3 valence electrons, what happens? 1, 2, 3 for example, and 1 will not bond. The extra electron will be there in silicon. In boron there is no electron to form the bond and it will form a hole. In that type of semiconductors, it is P type. So again I shall explain detail. First one, N type of semiconductor, it is doped with group 15 element. Group 15 element have 5 valence electrons. It has got 5 valence electrons. 4 out of the 5 electrons are used in formation of the bond. So there is 1 electron which is in excess, which is delocalized, which increases the conductivity. You can see that over here. You can see arsenic has come. Okay, arsenic is the impurity from group 15 which is added. You can see there are extra electrons which is present. Okay, those extra delocalized electrons, okay, will increase the conductivity. Such type of semiconductors we call it as N type semiconductor. We call it as N type semiconductor in which electron rich impurity is added. Okay. Next one is P type of semiconductor. So in P type of semiconductor, it is doped with group 13 element. A group 13 element means they have 3 valence electrons. So what happens? For example, I have silicon. It has got 4 valence electrons. Boron has 3. So here again silicon is present, 1, 2, 4. So it will form bonds like this. Correct now? Here it will form bonds. Here also it will form bonds. Now here boron, there is no electron, a hole is created. Okay, and here silicons, that electron does not have an electron here on boron to form the bond. So 1 electron is free here and 1 hole is created. So this electron will now help in conductivity. This will start moving to the hole and hole will move in this direction. So whenever, see here there is the conductivity is because of the hole. What is it? Electron hole. Okay. So I'll again revise. The place where the 4th valence electron is missing, then it is called as electron hole or electron vacancy. An electron from the neighboring atom can come and fill the electron hole. From the neighboring atom can come and fill the electron hole. If it happens, it would appear as if electron hole has moved in the direction opposite to that of the electron filled. That means if the electron is filling, it is going in this direction, the hole is coming in the opposite direction. It looks like that. For that you can understand this. See here, once boron has come, you can see electron, where electron is moving, it is coming, the hole is moving in the opposite direction. You can see in several places which is there. If the electron comes like this, the hole will move in the opposite direction. Now the hole will go like this, electron when it comes over this position. So what happens? It looks like electron is moving in one direction and the hole is moving in the other direction. So this type of semiconductor, we call it as P type of semiconductor. I hope you have understood. It is the P type of semiconductor. Now coming to exam point of view, which are the most important questions here? What are F centers? Can be asked. They can ask about metal excess defect and metal deficiency defect, and also one more important question is write the differences between N type and P type semiconductors. Okay, you have to write at least minimum 3 to 4 differences between N type and P type semiconductors. Next class we will be learning about the magnetic property and some more numericals for this chapter. So See you next class. Stay focused, stay tuned. Thank you.